says. So while technically in the Pacific Division, we're very close to West Los Angeles Division, and we're honored to have Captain Johnson here. And a big welcome to the Community Police Advisory Board members from both Pacific and West Los Angeles divisions.
Can you raise your hands for us so we can see? Will you raise your hands if you're on a CPAD? Thank you.
These are the people who truly make a difference, and they really do all they can do. They serve as the eyes and ears and advisors of each division. Luckily, there's room for more. So if you who live in this community would like to join them and do all you can do, ask one of the people who are here raising their hands. If you raise your hands one more time, and ask how you can join them. Thank you.
I am Steve Soboroff. I'm also a member of the Board of Police Commissioners. I want to make some observations. And I'd like to make some about LAPD, 5. And I'd like to make some about you, 5. And I'd like to make some about me, 5. Which way should I start? CPAD? Let me tell you the 5 observations or things about me. I've lived in Venice and Pacific Palisades, 90291 and 90272 for 39 years. In this community, I've drove a grocery truck, worked as a chauffeur to Kirk Douglas, found locations for retailers, and spent nine years working at Playa Vista. I visited every LAUSD school and every city park in this council district. And of course, LAPD station. Mike Bonin is one of my favorite council members in the last 20 years. I think he's terrific. I think he's tomorrow's Mike Bonin is tomorrow's councilman today. He's a fantastic guy. I will say that the fire has delayed. Wait, are you here?
Mike's here.
Oh, good, Mike. Hey. Yeah. Okay, good. The fire tried to stop him and it tried to stop me, but it didn't do either. I rode a bicycle here. So if anybody wants to come up to me afterwards, I was sweating pretty good. My favorite restaurants in this district are Alejos, the Outdoor Grill, which is a part of a car wash for barbecue, Cafe Vita over in the 90272 area. And the last thing about me is I wasn't recruited for this job. I asked for this job. I called the mayor when he was elected and said, you know, I just got a card for my birthday in the mail. It's a Medicare card. And I looked in the mirror and I said, you know what? Medicare is not for people. I mean, I'm young. You know, Medicare is for like my grandfather. But so I got to make a decision. Am I going to be in the game or I'm going to sit it out? And I have this poster at the office. And it says, I don't know if you can see it, but it says, are you doing all you can? And I looked at that and I looked in the mirror and I said, you know what? I want to get back. I want to get in the game and I want to help. I want to help this city. And I want to help this community. I'm not just going to sit back and complain about it and make lists of things that are wrong. I'm going to get in there and see what I can do. And so I called the mayor. So now let me make some observations about LAPD, because we're relatively, this commission, other than Rob, is relatively new. We started in September, so not too long. What have I learned about LAPD since I've been here? The most amazing thing that I've learned is that, you know, through the consent decree came this community policing strategy. And it's one thing to have a strategy, and it's another thing to implement the strategy. But community policing, policing with the community, not at the community, goes entirely through the culture of the LAPD to officers on the street, to captains, to lieutenants, to the chief. And that is a remarkable, remarkable accomplishment. The second thing that I've learned is that Here, I'll give you a statistic. In LA, about 400 people are arrested every day. It's a big city. That's not a lot of people. Guess what percentage of those people who are arrested, and nobody wants to be arrested. I mean, I don't know too many people that want to be arrested unless it's like pouring rain or something. But people aren't happy about being arrested. Guess how many, what percentage of those 400 a day there's any sort of use of force by the officer in the arrest? 10%. It's 4 people a day, 1%. Which means the officers are talking people. They are commanding situations with their presence and their voice and their training, so they do not have to use any sort of force. And I thought that that was remarkable. Of those 4 a day, that's, what's that, 28 a week. 2 a week are a categorical use of force, which is what you would probably think of as the use of force. The chief can define exactly what it is, but anything from hitting someone or whatever. So the training that the officers get and the retraining and is nothing short of the best in America. And so what I've learned, number 3, is the rest of America looks at the LAPD badge as the shining badge for law enforcement in America, and a lot of people around the world as well. And that's just not some BS that the commission president is saying. Every single week, there are people coming here from other police departments, working with our special crews, with our canine crews, with our racer crews, with our SWAT guys, learning about best practices. We are best practices in numerous areas. The other thing that I've learned about the LAPD is we need help. We need help. We cannot do it alone. Budgetary constraints, time constraints, people constraints. We need help. So let me switch to the 5 things about you. Because you're the answer. You are the answer to community policing. We aren't. And my question to you is, to every person here, and every person in Los Angeles, and we'll do this work, when we go to every single council district, put aside the complaints, put aside the whining. Are you doing all you can? What are you doing to help one kid go straight? What are you doing to appreciate one officer or to help one thing? What are you doing to try and encourage one business to hire an apprentice of an underserved kid? Because when you do that, the crime rate that has been going down, the chief did a press conference with the mayor yesterday, 11 years in a row, will continue to drop in significant ways. So the answer, my friends, is you. You can do it. You can help. And so mentor a kid. Hire an intern from a school. Thank a police officer. Join a CPAB. Join a booster club. What do the officers need? Take a trip over to your station and talk to the people. While you're doing that, do yourself a favor. Wear light, reflective clothing when you're jogging and biking. Do yourself a favor. For God's sake, stop at stop signs and stop speeding in residential areas. You know, in certain council districts, I don't know, In this council district, my experience, and this will probably be very unpopular to say, I just know too many people that think that they're just too privileged to have to worry about stopping at a stop sign or slow down in the neighborhood area. And you know what? What really bothers me is maybe they're too damn privileged to stop when they hit somebody on the bicycle. Because we've had 3 hit and runs in the Palisades in 3 weeks. Hit and runs where 2 people died. The other was a police officer. So it has to stop. Hit and runs and drunk driving have to stop. So I ask, are you doing all you can? And when there's a confrontation, because confrontations happen all the time, we got 5 kids, so one thing I've always told them, just count to 3 before you do something dumb. We're there to help you. Don't text while driving. Thank you for that one. And welcome to a wonderful group of people, civilians and sworn officers that do a great job. And it's our responsibility to do everything we can to make sure that they keep doing a great job, including when something goes wrong. So we're here to listen tonight. I appreciate your time, and thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Kim. Sorry for coming in a couple late. First week, everything back to normal again after the holidays, school starting, and I guess I got caught up in a little bit of traffic, and then also got a little bit lost. But I hope to become a lot more familiar with the Pacific Division in the coming months. And unfortunately, the Pacific Division has been very welcoming to us, and will be hosting my first ride-along in the Pacific Division in a few weeks, where I'll be able to attend roll call and meet some officers, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I've had the opportunity to do that in a couple of other divisions in Los Angeles, but this will be my first in the Pacific area. So by way of background, my day job is as a law professor at Loyola Law School. So LMU is over here in Westchester, but the law school is downtown. I began my career as a civil rights attorney representing human trafficking victims in civil litigation. This is over a decade ago now. So my entire career has been devoted to representing crime victims and vulnerable immigrants in the community. And I can say, to be with all honesty, that joining the police commission is the most meaningful experience that I've ever had. And even beyond my career, which again has been all about social justice and serving very vulnerable community members, this really is the most important opportunity that I've ever been presented with. And because hopefully I have some familiarity with representing community interests, that's what I hope to bring along with me with my involvement in the police commission, and hopefully what I can contribute. Because what I've learned so far is incredible and fascinating. The LAPD is so dedicated to public safety and dedicated to serving us LA residents, Los Angeles residents. That's an enormous gift and a privilege, and I thank them. And as my co-commissioner Steve Soboroff just said, I thank all the community members that have made the LAPD's job easier, and I really want to facilitate and continue to advance that mission and purpose.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda, comments from Councilmember Mike Bonin.
Hey, Mike.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Commission to the 11th District. Welcome everybody here to the Police Commission meeting. I just came, as Commissioner Soboroff said, from a fire on PCH. One of the nightmare scenarios, if you represent this area, is a brush fire on a red flag day in the northern part of this district, and we had one today. And lives were not lost and property was not destroyed because of our fire department first responders, who did a remarkable job today. I want to acknowledge that. But I'd like to ask the uniform officers here to all stand for a second. And I'd like to ask my constituents and my neighbors and my friends to join me in a round of applause in thanking all the officers who are here. And I want to thank you all for being here and for doing something that I think is an imperative for all of us who work for the City of Los Angeles and who serve in a volunteer capacity, and that's to put neighborhoods first. And to be here in this district tonight and to hear from these neighborhoods is very, very important. I know that all of you have at some point spent some time here in this district, some more than others. Steve lives here. Steve and I have worked together in this district for a number of years. I'd ask you tonight, though, to listen with new ears to what you're going to hear from my neighbors, and to begin to watch with new eyes what happens in this district and the public safety challenges that this district faces. You hear often from, and you and LAPD serve neighborhoods that face incredibly stark challenges with violent crime. These neighborhoods generally don't face those same types of challenges, but they face public safety challenges nonetheless, and they really need the eyes and the ears and the attention of this department. These men and women every day give incredible service to this district, and I just want to make sure that those who govern this department know what they know and hear what they live every single day. It's very easy sometimes, and I've heard it, to think of Pacific, for instance, as the place, well, you just really need to worry about Pacific Division during the summer months when the beach gets crowded. It's very easy to think of the West Side as the pocket of affluence with first world problems that doesn't need as much attention. But let me tell you a little bit about some of the challenges that this district faces. As many of you know, this district is home to Los Angeles International Airport, one of the biggest terrorist targets in the United States. As many of you know, this district is home to Venice Beach, one of the biggest tourist attractions in Southern California. Enormous crowds from all over the world coming to this beach every single day. This district is home to some of the worst gridlock traffic in Los Angeles, some of the most perilous neighborhoods with cut-through traffic, with people, as Steve said, speeding, imperiling seniors, imperiling children. We have quality of life issues in those neighborhoods. This is a district that is expansive in territory and in geography and has enormous pockets of isolation, where there is too rarely and too infrequently a squad car. And while they don't have much Part 1 crime, when they do have to press those buttons on their cell phone and dial 911, particularly in the gridlock that this part of town faces, it will take far too long for a uniformed car to get there. We have incredible challenges here, and I ask for your attention to them. As an elected representative of 270,000 people in 9 different neighborhoods, it's ridiculously perilous for me to stand up and speak of a single or even 2 separate particular issues, because everybody here has particular issues in their neighborhood that deserve attention, and you'll hear from them. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention 2, even at the risk of some people getting upset that I've mentioned only those 2. One of them is the universal one that I mentioned, is traffic. We have incredible people in the West LA Traffic Bureau. But our challenges with traffic are so extreme that we need more. We need more resources. We have civilians who are willing to cooperate, willing to participate, but when we have an incident where there's a stop sign being run constantly, it takes far too long to get an investigation there because your forces are spread far too thin. And during the budget season, I'm with you. I'll fight for the resources you need, but this community needs more, particularly in terms of traffic. The other specific example I need to mention, and many people here tonight will echo that, is I need to say a few words about Venice Beach. Steve and I have worked together dealing with Venice Beach for a very long time. And over the years, Venice Beach has changed incrementally, almost imperceptibly. But as some of you know, I've been trying to light a fire and raise an alarm in the city about what's happening down at Venice Beach. There is a perception among many in Los Angeles that Venice Beach is Abbot Kinney. Is Abbot Kinney Boulevard. GQ's hippest street, the places where property values are going up and where all the hip stores are coming in, where everybody goes fighting traffic and parking gridlock in order to go to the hip restaurants. But that, just a few feet away, Venice Beach is a different zone. And the people who live in those neighborhoods are living in fear. It's not showing up in your stats yet because they're afraid to call the cops or they've given up. They don't think the city is listening to them. But there's a climate of fear for the folks who live very close to the beach, that quality of life is threatened and that there is a criminal element that has been infiltrating, posing as or blending in with a transient population and coming in and preying upon the community. And they are sorely in need of additional resources and additional focus, not just from LAPD, from my office, from the Bureau of Street Services, from Recreation and Parks, from the Mayor's office. It needs to be a collective city effort altogether.
Philanthropic community as well.
Philanthropic community as well, absolutely. But I think you will hear from many tonight a plea for more attention from LAPD for Venice Beach. Again, not to take away from any of the numerous challenges you'll hear tonight. Traffic is enormous, pockets of isolation where it takes too long to get a cop to come because of the geography and the traffic. But this is a community. These are not grumblers, and these are not whiners here tonight. There's a lot of members of CPAB here. There's a lot of members of Neighborhood Watch here tonight. There's a lot of members of civic organizations here tonight. These are the folks who mentor. These are the folks who work at a senior center. These are the folks who volunteer for a little league. These are the folks who clean up their neighborhood on their own and pick up the slack when the city drops the ball. These are folks, and I just urge you to listen to them tonight, and I look forward to working with you in whatever way I can to help address their quality of life issues and put their neighborhoods first. Thank you.
Sir.
Item number 3 is the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Chief has to figure out how to work that. First, good evening. There we go. I want to introduce a few people and also thank a few others. First, Mike Bonin, thank you very much for hosting us in your district. This is a hugely important piece of Los Angeles. I acknowledge all of its needs. As you know, this is a very small police department given a very large task, and we will work as arduously as possible to get the resources to Venice, to Pacific, to West LA, to all the divisions on the west side of town. We understand the issues here. I want to thank my primary union president, Tyler Eisen. I saw Tyler out in the audience. Tyler, raise your hand. I know you're out there. Thank you, Tyler. Thanks for being here. And then I want to thank my command staff, and you'll hear from them later. We have Terry Hara, the chief of West Bureau, who I think will speak. Dennis Cotto. Dennis is here, somewhere in the corner over there. Brian Johnson. I know Brian's going to talk. Rick Jacobs, my chief of staff, is here. And I also want to talk about a couple other things. This is a big city, but all of it is important, and this piece of the city of Los Angeles is extremely important to me. As many of you may know, I spent a number of years as a patrol officer in what was then Venice. I was a senior lead officer. I served the area 14845, the Mar Vista area right between Mar Vista and Oakwood. And I kind of relived that today a little bit. I went in a black and white on patrol, and we visited all the neighborhoods of Pacific Division. And I went and talked to Brian Johnson a little bit at the station, where he and Terry had a nice dedication of a community library in the lobby. Got a feel for what's going on in the neighborhoods. I went to Venice Beach. I went through Oakwood. I went up to the airport. We went to Dockweiler Beach. Went through Mar Vista. Went through Playa. Commissioner checked on it. Checked on the development. Things look very well. And I see a place that is just teeming with not only life but with progress, and you know, we want to be part of that progress. So I make that commitment to all of you. I know that Chief Hara and Captain Johnson are going to talk about crime statistics relative to this area a little bit later on in the agenda, so I won't touch on that. I will talk a little bit about crime in the city of LA. As Commissioner Sobroff said, we gave our year-end crime press conference yesterday. The mayor and I did, joined by Commissioner Sobroff. You know, this has been a tremendous year for the city of Los Angeles to crime, as crime goes. This is the 11th consecutive year of Part 1 crime reduction in Los Angeles. And this year, we reached levels that I could have never even hoped for when I was a young police officer. We had a total of 251 homicides in the city. This is a city that used to suffer well over 1,000. This is the lowest level of homicide and violent crime the city has seen since the mid-50s. And aggregate Part 1 crime, when you take Part 1 crime and you do the math per capita, actually the lowest level of Part 1 crime, and that's the 8 categories of crime that include property crime, in the city of Los Angeles since 1949. Amazing, amazing statistics. And so how do you make that kind of change in a city? Well, you do it partly through good policing and having great police leaders and great cops, and I have that. But you also do it through the community. Commissioner Sobroff talked about community policing, and you know, that has been the way I've policed Los Angeles my entire adult life. And it is through not only the partnership with the community, but the cooperation and the belief in the community that you can improve where you live by working with the police. There's a concept called community efficacy where a community takes ownership of its role in public safety. And when a community does that, you change the standards of behavior in the neighborhoods you live in. You change the way neighbors feel about each other. You change the way you feel about the police and the police feel about you. You create a tremendous sense of ownership, not only in your neighborhood, but for your neighborhood. And the police department, at least this police department, believes in that. And that's why it's important to have these meetings. And commissioners, that's why it's so refreshing for me and so uplifting that you've dedicated yourselves to going to every council district over the next number of years and having community meetings where people just like you can talk to the people that make the decisions about policing in Los Angeles and be heard, and things can be done based on what you say. So to keep myself current, what I promised the commission that I'll do is I'll do just what I did today. Every time we have a community meeting, I'll go to the division that's primarily represented. I'll get in a black and white car. We'll drive the streets. I'll go to the roll calls like I did today. I'll talk to the cops, hear what they have to say, and then I'll come to the community meeting and hear what the community has to say. And that's how I'll make the decisions about policing in Los Angeles. Because I truly believe that while your police department can do a lot, and it is a great police department, and I firmly believe it is as great as any in the world, it won't happen without you. We will not police our way into greater public safety. We will do it as partners. And that's the importance of these meetings. One of the other things I report on in these regularly in our every Tuesday meetings is the personnel strength of the police department. And that's very important, and Councilman Bonnet touched on why it's important. What I hear from all over the city is, can we get more officers? Can we get more resources? Can we get more focus on our neighborhood problems? And I can only do that with sufficient resources. You know, this is a traditionally very small agency for the task that it has. The city of Los Angeles is almost 500 square miles. You could fit New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, and a couple other major East Coast cities, all within the boundaries of Los Angeles. There's almost 4 million people, and we police that with a police department that, as of today, 9,899 sworn and about 2,600 civilian. That's about a third of what New York City has as a police department, and about 50% smaller than Chicago uses a police department, police their city. It makes resource allocation extremely important. And that's why it's important to hear what you think, because we have to make very tough decisions about a very critical resource. And so I thank, as we begin this conversation, I thank you for understanding that, and I thank you for your partnership, and I look forward to what you have to say.
Thank you. Item number 4 is the report of the Executive Director, Mr. Tiefenk.
Well, I'm going to have to lean over into the Chief's body space. Excuse me, Chief. Good evening. Richard Tiefenk. As the Secretary said, I'm the Executive Director of the Board of Police Commissioners. And what that role is I'm their Chief Executive Operation Office of the Police. In that role, the responsibilities I have is to liaison with the department on a daily basis, also with the mayor's offices, and can I have another mic? This one keeps... I think we're going to be mic challenged tonight, so I apologize for that. Again, in my role as executive director, it's my responsibility to liaison with the chief's office, the city council, mayor's office, the chief legislative analyst, and the chief administrative officer of the city, to keep the commissioners in tune with what is going on in the city, but also be the daily contact in the office to assist the commissioners in their role. In that responsibility, I also have oversight of Commission Investigation Division, which has a critical role in doing a number of things within the city on a daily basis. Commission Investigation Division is the entity that is responsible for providing the access to the public for all police permits that one must receive. They do the background investigation. The permits then come to me for approval, and in some cases go to a police review panel for issuance and approval. Also, we have two critical tasks that we do within Commission Investigation Division. One is we monitor the official police tow contracts, and we also monitor all towing services in the city of Los Angeles. And that's very critical. We have a lot of bandit tow issues that occur throughout the city, and you can access us on those bandit tow issues through a website and also a phone number I'll give you in just a moment. We also have a new ordinance in the city of Los Angeles that the city council has recently passed, and that's a valet ordinance to regulate valet operation by individual valets and also valet attendants. The ordinance became effective in November of 2013. We've given the valet operators and attendants an opportunity to get in compliance and get permits. Effective February 1, we will begin an enforcement of that particular action, and that's very critical. As you take a car to a restaurant to dine, you leave your keys with an attendant. You would hope that your car is taken care of, and the person taking your car has a driver's license, the appropriate insurance, etc. And we have not had that regulation in the city in the past, and now we do, thanks to the efforts of the City Council. Those are the responsibilities that we have on a daily basis. I would also encourage all of you to not forget that we have regular Police Commission meetings every Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning at the police headquarters at 100 West 1st Street. They're open to the public. Also, all of our commission agendas and all of the items that are heard before the commission are available online. They're available online at the department's website, which is lapdonline.org, or through the City of LA website, which is lacity.org under meeting agendas. You can access all of the documents that are part of the open session and have an opportunity to look at the documents that are before the commission. And also, all of our meetings are videotaped, so you can have access and watch the meetings if you choose to. So there is the opportunity, if you cannot get down, to have interaction and to see what is occurring. The phone number for the Bandit Tow operation, should you see anything that you would want to report relevant to Bandit Tows, it is 323-680-4TOW. Again, you can find this information on our website by going to lapdonline.org, click on the Police Commission, and all the information will appear. Thank you for attending. And also, one last piece. As you came in, you should have been given a speaker card if you wanted to speak. If not, the officers in the back of the room have speaker cards available. Please fill a speaker card out, give it to one of the officers. They'll give it to the board secretary so we can hear your comments. And that concludes my comments.
Say a few words about your background.
About my background? Yes, sir. I'm a retired police officer. I was a police officer for 33 years in 3 different cities. I was police chief in 2 cities. I was police chief in Pomona for 3 years, from 86 to 89. And I was police chief in the city of Buena Park from 1989 to 2001. Upon my retirement, I went to work for then State Attorney General Bill Lockyer as his law enforcement liaison for 2.5 years, and then came to work in December of 2003 with the Inspector General's office as an Assistant Inspector General, and in June of 2004 became the Executive Director of the Police Commission.
Thank you. Item number 5, report of the Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante.
Good evening. I'll see if I have a little better luck with the microphone than my predecessors had with it. To give you a brief overview of what my office does and what I'm responsible for, I'm essentially the eyes and ears for the Police Commission. So the 5 commissioners that are up here have the primary responsibility of overseeing the operations of the department and making sure that the department reflects the mores of the community and doing a good job internally as well. I am the day-to-day operation that will audit or investigate the department to ensure that their goals are being set as far as the operations of the department. I am distinct from the department. I don't work for LAPD. I have only one person or one group of people that I'm responsible for, and that is the Police Commission. I'm not an employee of the department, and the people that I've hired are not employees of the department. I have about 40 people that work for me, and we do everything from reviewing serious uses of force and providing our insight and our evaluation of those uses of force to the Commission for their consideration. We also will look at trends with uses of force within the city and try to identify things that we can strengthen or make recommendations that we think will improve the operations of the department. We will also examine complaints from the community as well as complaints internally to make sure that they're being investigated appropriately and that all protocols as far as the interviews and the process for adjudicating those have been met. I also have an audit arm, and our audit arm is responsible for doing just that. We can audit anything within the department to check out the operations to make sure that, again, they are doing what the Commission expects them to do. What makes LAPD unique compared to other police departments is that the powers that the city has given the Inspector General's office, and I think they're quite notable, and I will just talk on them briefly. My office has access to every document within LAPD. We have the ability, it's built into the city charter, to look at any document, any audio tape, any recording, and I don't have to give a justification for it. I can ask for it and receive it and analyze it. I can initiate an investigation for any reason whatsoever, and I can do it without any prompting, and just if my office determines there's an issue, to look at it. To stop the investigation of the Inspector General's office, it requires a public vote by the Commission, where a majority of them have to vote to stop the investigation. I have access to all department personnel. What that enables my office to do is really look deep into the department and examine issues that are important to the community and important to the Commission. And we do that daily, and what results oftentimes are reports, public reports, that we will publish for the community to review. I would encourage anyone, if they want to have an idea of what the oversight is and how LAPD is really kind of a unique animal and welcomes this oversight and works with our office and actually tries to improve itself constantly, I would take an opportunity to look at some of the reports that my office does on a quarterly basis, in which all sorts of issues ranging from uses of force to other constitutionally related issues. That can be, if you look on my website or the Commission's website, you'll be able to pull them up for the last several years and get a flavor for what the IG's office does and what the Commission asks us to actually look at and what their priorities are. And as far as this meeting, if anybody wants to talk to me about any issues, including complaints related to any other matter, I'll be staying late and be able to answer individually any questions you may have. Thank you.
Item number 6 is a report from the commanding officers, Pacific Area and Operations West Bureau. For Pacific Area, we have Captain Ryan Johnson, and for West Bureau, we have Deputy Chief Terry Hara.
Before you guys speak, I'm sure that everybody out there has been looking at the wristbands that the commissioners and the chief are wearing with great envy. And I want to let you know that the cadets here, in fact, I'd like to ask the cadets to come in, have one for each of you and for each of your children, and they will be passing them out to you, so you don't have to be jealous of us for our bling. So let's ask the cadets to come in and pass those out to the folks and take them and wear them and be proud. Go ahead, guys.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Terry Hara, the Commanding Officer of Operation West Bureau. And for our guests, the community members that are here, the City of Los Angeles, or LAPD, is divided into 4 geographic bureaus, one being Operation West Bureau, the other is Operation Valley Bureau, Operation Central Bureau, and Operation South Bureau. Operation West Bureau consists of approximately 1 million residents, and I have the responsibility, along with my partner, Commander Dennis Cotto, who's the commander also at Operation West Bureau, to oversee the operations of West Los Angeles Station, Wilshire, Olympic, Hollywood, Pacific, and West Traffic. And with the number of officers there, and certainly Operation West Bureau has a number of different locations that are newsworthy, are very popular, and as well as that was mentioned by Councilman Bonin about the traffic issues, is always a concern within this community. But I'd like to give a real quick overview of last year's crime reduction that Operation West Bureau was able to reflect as a result of the partnership and the strong working relationships that all of our commanding officers at each area work with the community day in and day out. Our violent crime that consisted of our homicide, it was a nearly 30% reduction over 2012. Our rapes were nearly 16% reduction. Our robbery was nearly 11% reduction. We had a slight increase in aggravated assaults of 50 more crimes, but overall, the violent crime in Operation West Bureau was an almost 6% reduction of 2013 versus 2012. Property crime that includes burglary, that was near over 9%. The stolen vehicle was a reduction of over 6.5%. Burglary, theft from vehicle, cars getting broken into, was a reduction of over 9%. A slight increase of personal theft was about 1%, making the total property crime reduction in Operation West Bureau 5.2%, and the total Part 1 crime of 5.3%. We know that most of the crimes that are occurring in Operation West Bureau, 85% is in property. And as all of us, when we are, whether it's parking our cars or leaving our residence, we're always encouraging that we lock and hide and make sure that all of our property is protected and out of sight. And we've had a number of different programs to help work with the community in that effort. One of the things that the Councilman Bonin mentioned is the traffic issue here in Operation West Bureau, and pretty much for the whole city. But I want to also announce to the community that in our effort for 2014, one of the efforts is a reduction in crime of 3% citywide, but also to reduce our serious injuries, which is considered our A injuries. That means there are serious injuries involved in traffic collisions, to reduce that by 10%, as well as to reduce our fatalities, our K injuries, by also 10%. And we plan to do that by increasing our resources and leveraging our resources within Operation Bureau. And beginning in February, the first week of February, we are going to increase our uniform deployment in our West Traffic Division by almost 30 officers.
Wow.
And by doing that...
Say that again. That's very big news.
We're going to increase our deployment of our uniform officers in our West Traffic Division. That division is a specialized division that investigates accident as well as traffic enforcement. And as we know about enforcement, we always talk about the 3 E's of enforcement. One is the enforcement itself. The other component is education. And then the third E is engineering. And engineering might be taking a look at the area by which we were driving. I had looked at last year the 5 busiest intersections in Operation West Bureau. The 5 busiest, they had the most traffic collisions. It totaled 125 traffic collisions. Now that's a lot. But how many vehicles travel through those 5 busiest intersections in West Bureau? It's amazing. It's 81 million vehicles. That's a lot of cars in the city of Los Angeles, and that's just an example of...
I think they were all out there tonight, frankly.
Maybe so. So what I want to emphasize is that the community will see an increase of our responsibility of enforcement of traffic, to facilitate the traffic. It doesn't mean that everyone's getting a ticket, but it is a focus on traffic flow, distracted driving, educational programs, things of that nature, so that the community can feel that the department is also focusing their efforts in our attempt to reduce our A's and K's in the city of Los Angeles. What I would like to do also is to turn it over to our great captain of Pacific, Captain Brian Johnson. And earlier we mentioned about Captain Brian Thomas, because I know that we have community members here from West Los Angeles. He was out there in the fire out there in the PCH area. But I'd like to introduce Captain Brian Johnson, who will say a few words on behalf of Pacific. Thank you.
Commissioners, Chief, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak briefly. I really want to start out my comments by really talking about the Pacific community, obviously the command where I'm in charge. It is such an incredible and diverse community, and the ability and the relationships just in the short amount of time that I've established here in Pacific has just been overwhelming, and the cops in this command makes it very easy for me to get up in the morning and come to work. But my hat's off, and I'm going to get into a little bit more specifics of some things that are going on. I want to talk just briefly about crime because I think the chief did a great job of talking about not only our overall crime, but Chief Hara and what's going on in the Bureau. Pacific ended the year with a reduction of 4.1%. And what I've always told my cops, what we've always talked about, though we look at crime so precisely, and those numbers mean a lot to us in terms of analyzing our crime and deploying our resources, we can never lose sight of the fact that 4.1% crime reduction was 245 less victims. 245 less victims of crime in Pacific. But I always tell my cops there's still a lot of work to be done. We will never quit. There's so much more work to be done, and when we look at our overall crime picture, we know we are still going to do great things, and that 3% is a goal that we will achieve on behalf of our residents. When you look, when I got to the command in September, we were having some struggles. We were having some bumps in the road as it relates to crime. We all remember that tragic incident on Oceanfront Walk where one tourist lost her life and 17 others were run over by that vehicle that attributed to some of our increases in our aggravated assaults. My partner, Captain Vic Davalos, and the rest of the command, we listened to the community, we heard their concerns, and we started to make some adjustments in how we were doing some of our deployment, and I'll get it together, talk about that in a little bit later. But what we did see was an actual reduction in crime week after week for the last 6 weeks, and was a big part of that crime reduction. Our goals, most people don't know this, but my goal last year was 112 Part 1 crimes each week. So a little over 16 crimes, 17 crimes a week. And we were able to finish out the year the first week of December with 112 crimes, meeting that goal. But for the next 3 weeks, we were between 85 and 90 crimes per week. And so just really a testament to what the men and women of Pacific Division have been doing in partnership with our community. That goal of 3%, we are going to attain it. That momentum from last year is already continued into this first part of, and again, it's only a couple weeks, but we are meeting the mark at my new goal of 107 crimes, 15 crimes a week. We're averaging about 100 crimes 2 weeks ago and 81 crimes last week. So we are keeping that momentum and that focus. So let me switch gears a little bit and talk about some things that we are doing in Pacific. I have to acknowledge first my CPAB co-chair, Rob Dakota, who's out in the audience. Rob. I have Monica Harmon, who's a relentless supporter of mine and keeps me on track with our anti-bullying in the community and just as we all know, all over the city. So Monica Harmon's out there. I have Cindy Hench, who I bonded a relationship, who's on my CPAB, and we're going to talk a little bit about our super block captain in a minute. We're developing a program that I think will be a model for a lot of different commands as it relates to that partnership with our community, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Lisa's here from the Bologna Wetlands. I got Carl back here and the councilman. And I don't want to take up too much time acknowledging all the partners that I have in the community. So let me talk about 3 initiatives that we have that we are excited about in 2014. And the first one is the Teen CPAB. I'm not a very smart guy, so when I see something that's working, I steal it. And when we were at the CPAB Summit, Rob and me were just totally blown away about what was happening at Southwest.
Steal. How about like you adopt it?
Yeah, adopt, yeah. We are going to adopt the Teen CPAB.
We don't steal.
And that is going to be a way for us. to understand that maybe not all of our youth want to be a cadet. Maybe not all of our youth want to be involved in that program. But what of a better way to attract young teens and young adults that want to make a difference in their community? So my CPAB is going to be the advisory board for the teen CPAB, but my teen CPAB will be independent of them. And so we are very excited. We are forging forward with that, and we'll be launching that by next month. The next concept was the super block captain, and we've been talking with community members about this. Cindy is really taking the lead as kind of my co-chair, if you will, on this, and we've already got in place. In essence, what that will be is we need a lot of Cindy Henches and Monica Harmons and all the rest of the community members out here, you know, Carl Lamberts and the rest, and just all throughout Pacific, that could really be a focus point for the CPAB and those folks that have the energy and the time that want to make a difference. And then what they are going to do is work and reach out collectively to find new block captains. We're going to take over a neighborhood street by street, block by block, because again, I am convinced that our crime reduction efforts are only going to happen with that partnership with our community. So that is an initiative that we are excited about. I think is going to pay dividends for us, not only in Pacific, but other commands that take a look at it. And I will end by talking about, I know the Chief mentioned it as well as Chief Hara, the Little Free Library. This was, again, something that I borrowed from another command. Really, the person that really deserves a lot of the credit is Heidi. I know she's in the audience with Gene and Doug, that actually built my little teen library. They're volunteers. They're going to go across all 21 divisions to put a Little Free Library in our stations. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony this morning. We had countless kids that were excited about getting a book and reading and took them home. And so again, we are going to change lives through literacy in Pacific and all across this great city. So I'd like Gene and Doug, if you'd please stand with Heidi. And so, Mr. President, I'm not going to let you off the hook because I think it was October 21st you came to visit me in Pacific, and you said, Brian, what can I do for you? And I said, do you have a minute? Can we take a walk? I know you're very busy. Can we take a quick little walk? And so we walked outside, and I showed you my community relations trailer, if we could even call it a trailer. And in that short little walk out to my parking lot, you said you're going to get a call in about 5 or 10 minutes from Randy Johnson. He might be a long-lost relative, but you need to take his call. So sure enough, Randy called, and one of his partners, Derek from Brookfield Residential, that are doing a fabulous job in Playa Vista, came to look to do that paint and patch remodel of our community relations office. And what quickly turned to a paint and patch turned out to, I don't even know how many square feet it's going to end up being, but just an incredible opportunity for us to, for the first time, have a community center for kids. Gene and Doug are going to build a second Little Free Library inside that community center. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that, and Brookfield Residential. Because that is truly going to be a place where the community is going to be able to come together to have meetings at Pacific Community Police Station. We're going to have a center 24/7 for our youth to make a difference in their lives. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Brian, let me ask you the question that everybody is thinking about. When you and Terry talked about more traffic officers coming in the area with more traffic, what happens if we see something? Okay, in my neighborhood, there's a group of motorcycle guys that go flying down Sunset Boulevard twice a week. Okay, okay, and there's 150 of them, and they're going like crazy. What do we do when we see something that's really wrong continuing to happen, you know? Or if there's a stop sign in our neighborhood where it's just like everybody is flying through it. What is the most efficient thing for us to do other than take the law into our own hands?
Certainly there's a couple things, but I would say the most important piece is to get involved and call and make a difference. A lot of folks say, well, it just continues to happen, there's nothing I can do. And through my senior lead officers, we make that, those quality of life issues a priority for us, again, to impact those things and bring resources where we can work that specific problem, whatever it might be. Again, whether it's a traffic issue, whether it's a quality of life issue related to graffiti, all my senior leads, myself included, we give out our cell numbers, our email addresses to have that direct link to the community so we can be responsive to them. And so I would ask that, again, my senior leads are back there. They will come in once we get to public comment and have an opportunity if folks don't have their numbers for their specific area. But again, it's getting involved. It goes back to what I said earlier. We have to take over each one of our neighborhoods, block by block, street by street, to make a difference.
Thank you. We do have one public comment card on this item. We have Peggy Lee Kennedy.
I do want you guys to talk about your cadet program for 2 seconds and explain who the kids are that are in it, and maybe the chief can talk a little bit about the overall cadet program and what it's doing.
Well, the cadet program is a youth program where teenagers from age 15 or 16 through 21 can participate at their local police station in programs. There is an academy that they attend, and with that they learn learning skills, teamwork, camaraderie, community service. I am a product of a very similar program, the Explorer program. Had it not been for the exposure in law enforcement, I probably would not have become a police officer. It was the greatest opportunity to be exposed to a profession of public service. And by the way, along with the cadets, we're always looking for qualified candidates who want to become a Los Angeles police officer. We are hiring. If anybody's interested, it's 866-444-LAPD. You can go online, but we're always looking for qualified candidates who look forward to becoming a Los Angeles police officer.
Hello, my name is Peggy Lee Kennedy, and I'm a third-generation Venice resident, and I feel safe, and I'm not scared. But I just want you to know that I think there's some deep-seated issues with community policing, and that a review of the ethnic, social, economic, racial diversity for this population needs to be seriously looked into. And I'm not talking about just the color of your skin. I'm talking about the mindset that is involved in these groups. And, you know, listening to somebody talk about how they're going to take over block by block is great, you know, but the fact is that it's the community, and it shouldn't be the police leading it. It should be the community. When my uncle, when my great-grandfather was notified by the Red Cross that my great-uncle was captured by the Germans after the D-Day invasion, my great-grandfather became mentally disabled, and his community took care of him. He acted crazy, and he was kind of scary, but the community took care of him. The police did not. And I really would like to see that kind of effort. And that community was incredibly diverse, very poor people, but they took care of my great-grandfather because he was mentally disabled after he found out his son was a prisoner of war by the Germans. And I think that is a prime example of community, not the police taking over block by block with one mindset. Thank you.
Okay, we are now at item number 7, which is public comment period. We have 37 public comment cards. The first 5 speakers are Timothy Trigg, Joey Corteau, Paul Morgan, Peggy Lee Kennedy, and Andrew.
Hi, good evening, Council. I'm a Venice Beach artist, and I vend my jewelry in Venice Beach. There's a new municipal code 4215 that has banned the selling of selective items, jewelry, hula hoops, hair wraps, and anything that is not deemed as being of artistic value. You know, how in a time when we are struggling to create commerce can we justify ticketing vendors, immigrants, and Native Americans who are making their own handmade crafts? This municipal code has banned the selling of hula hoops. My friend had her wrists grabbed aggressively by a Pacific Division officer for being hesitant to sign her ticket in a fashionable manner. The officers are not entering the tickets on or before the court date, which means they have up to 1 year and the citizen is caught in limbo and waiting for these tickets to be entered. If you plead not guilty to an infraction, you have up to 6 months to wait for your court date to contest it, and then you have to go in and plead not guilty and then see if the officer shows up so that you can actually have your day in court. You know, there's vendors and entrepreneurs all over Los Angeles selling bacon-wrapped hot dogs, fruits, and whatnot, trying to feed their families and whatnot. So why do they come to Venice Beach and ticket one tamale lady? Why does a 12-year-old boy have to stay on lookout for his mom who's simply trying to sell some fruit in Venice Beach? How many bacon-wrapped hot dog tickets are given in Los Angeles on a daily basis? According to the Venice Chamber of Commerce, Venice is the second most traveled tourist site in Los Angeles.
Hold to a very strict 2-minute limit.
I would like there to be a referendum to renew.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, Joey Corteau.
Artists and stop being harassed in Venice.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker, please.
Continue to voice this. My article is in the Beach End this morning in regards to the selective enforcement of artists in Venice.
We're gonna hold to 2 minutes. Yep.
Thank you guys for having us. Thanks to everyone here that's trying to make the city a little bit better place for us all to live.
Us too.
I'm here just to speak also on the 4215 ordinance that is criminalizing artists and artisans. I've heard a lot of the city council speak on resources and where the police officers are using their resources. I really think criminalizing people who create their own work with their own hands, Native Americans, single mothers, low-income families, and just college students. Maybe a kid wants to go out to the beach, create some work, maybe sell it, maybe not, maybe talk with his friends. These people are being harassed, they're being ticketed, they're being arrested for making items with their hands. 4215, I believe, was originally created to stop the selling of commercial items, which were impeding on the East Side's revenue. I understand that. However, criminalizing people who create their own work here in America and use American materials, it doesn't seem American. I'm an American, I've been here all my life, and handmade and made in America used to mean something. And I think it still means something, and I just don't see why we would put resources into criminalizing, once again, artists and artisans along the Venice Beach Boardwalk, which has been designated for artisans for decades, if not maybe half a century, since Abbott Kinney started the whole Venice Beach Boardwalk. Thanks for listening to us. I hope someone can look into this. It's definitely discriminating against different groups of people. I would hate to see those groups of people take it out on the city at some point. It's unnecessary. necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul Morgan. Peggy Lee Kennedy. Andrew.
Come on up, you guys.
Hi again.
Well, I'd like you guys to come up and stand behind us up here. Come on up. And we'll let the ladies speak.
Could you let my time start over so I know how much?
No, you'll have your full 2 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
I promise.
Hi.
Guys, come behind us. Okay? Okay, whenever you're ready. Take your time.
Thank you. Peggy Lee Kennedy, Venice Beach, third generation, Venice resident. I want to speak to the fact that we really need an independent complaint process. Internal Affairs is staffed by police. Without a truly independent complaint process, how do we really know how many excessive force incidents there are per arrest? If a person complains through Internal Affairs, and then Internal Affairs appears to investigate them instead of the incident, it's scary. A person will get afraid. And then if they are a vulnerable person, let's say they are vulnerable in the fact that they're homeless or they don't speak English very good, and they get afraid that they will be targeted because it is the police investigating it, officers. So there tends to be less complaints if there is that fear. And in fact, if somebody who was homeless had a complaint and they came to me, I personally would be reluctant to advise them to file a complaint through Internal Affairs because they are really vulnerable people and they're already out there dealing with the police continuously, being moved from one spot to the next or to the next city over as some kind of a solution to homelessness, which brings me to another point. I'd really like to see our budget spent on solutions rather than criminalization of poor people. It would be so much better.
Thank you. The next 5 speakers, Elizabeth Thornton, Allison Wilson, Jeffrey Allen Solomon, Jocelyn Topolsky, and Kip Pardue.
Chief, will you join me in introducing our cadets? We have 4,000 cadets, and we've got, not the 4,000 now. But I'd like you to, just one at a time, come up and tell me, okay, I'm not going to take, just tell me your name, where you go to school.
My name is Luis Serena, and I go to Venice High School.
And Venice High, local guy. Why'd you join the cadets?
Because it teaches me discipline, and it's a nice way to keep off the streets.
And but is it cool? I mean, there are a lot of kids in the school. Some, I don't know about your school, but there's gang kids. There's a lot of things where people are saying to you, well, why don't you do this, and why don't you go with us and do that? How do you? Do people talk to you about that at all?
Yeah, but I try to ignore it because the cadets is pretty fun. You get rewarded after a while.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir. Okay. Let's just, I just want you to come up and say your name and where you go to school.
Enrique Lozano, sir, and I go to Dorsey High School.
Thank you. Come on up.
My name is Armando, and I go to Dorsey High School.
I'm Robert Corletto. I go to Venice High School.
All right.
My name is Joshua Tobin, and I go to University High School.
My name is Tiani Gomez, and I go to Venice High School. My name is Monique Paul, and I go to Venice High School. My name is Amanda Cazares, and I go to Bishop Montgomery High School.
My name is Maritza Guerra, and I go to Dorsey High School.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is the answer in the future of Los Angeles. Thank you for what you do.
We'll begin with Elizabeth Thornton.
Okay. Hi, I'm a graduate student and teaching assistant, and Mar Vista is my neighborhood. My comment concerns Special Order 1, a policy of which the Office of the Inspector General conducted a modest procedural audit last spring. For those in the audience who may not know, Special Order 1 mandates the filing of suspicious activity reports, or SARs, as part of local and regional counterterrorism efforts. A Southern California ACLU office recently obtained hundreds of LA area SARs, which included reports on professors and students of photography who were doing nothing more than taking pictures in public, and reports on members of youth-oriented organizations who were filming in public. These SARs were referred to FBI Joint Terrorism Task Forces for no apparent reason. With Commissioner Soborov's opening remarks in mind, as a member of the local academic community, I have to say this strikes me as an example of policing at my community, not with it. And I'm very concerned that folks who are trying to help more than one kid, quote, go straight, unquote, are being treated as terror suspects. Perhaps it's time to conduct a more thorough audit.
Thank you.
Allison Wilson.
Hi, thank you so much for tonight, and thank you for coming to our neighborhood. I've lived in Venice for 13 years, and Councilman Bonin is really right on the money when he talks about the backslide that our neighborhood is in right now. This morning, when I walked my dog, there's not one of the beach parking lots, but a pretty big beach parking lot that we live really close to. We're close to the boardwalk. We're close to the beach. That has probably about the size of this room. There were 7 encampments this morning, 7. And when I walked back this afternoon, again with my dog, some were gone, of course, and several had left a lot of trash behind. I can only assume human waste, and I can expect to see them tomorrow morning again. So my thinking here is twofold. I would love to see some more consistent policing of an issue that is ongoing and daily. There is it's scarier now than it used to be, and it's dirtier now than it used to be. When I say dirty, I don't mean the dirty diapers left by tourists and some sort of litter issues. I mean, there's human waste that there didn't used to be. And I'm confronted as a neighbor who cleans up her neighborhood by the question of whether to pick it up or leave it. It's just not okay right now. And I thank the councilman, I thank LAPD. I'm here because I think you guys do a phenomenal job, and I want more of it. So please put us on your list.
Thank you. Jeffrey Allen Solomon.
My name's Andrew Carrillo. I am a 5th grade teacher in Los Angeles, right next to USC, a school called 32nd Street. I also volunteer at the Veterans Administration, helping out veterans, especially those that are homeless. But I live in East Venice, I call it, east of Lincoln, by Penmar Park. And Penmar Park seems to be an overflow place when it starts getting a little too crowded, or maybe the police are cracking down on Venice Beach. We tend to get a lot more people coming up to Penmar Park and other parks in the area and camping there and causing the same sort of issues. I used to have real good communication with our senior lead officer. By the way, I have a lot of respect for LAPD. I've been to New York and I've been to Chicago. I'd much rather be talking with LAPD officers. But lately, it seems like our senior lead officer has been changing, or I just haven't been able to get a hold of them. So, and I also just want to say I applaud the effort to get the more traffic officers. I hope we have a bunch of them on motorcycles. It's a little more visible. Good thing. Thank you.
Captain John.
Jocelyn
Brian,
Topolsky.
you'll talk to him. Give Ms. Steiner lead.
Jocelyn.
Mr. Soveroff, thank you. Chief Beck, thank you very much. And Mr. Bonin, thank you very much. I'm here to tell you about a very real and present threat, and I'm not being dramatic, that is literally 4 blocks from here. On our block of 2500 Coolidge Avenue, myself and my 2 neighbors, one of which was granted a restraining order for 3 years yesterday. The individual next to her had a restraining order against the same individual, our neighbor, until 2 years ago. This individual is bipolar. He's currently incarcerated and going to be released tonight from Metro Detention Center. Ironically, my company built that center. I've been working with, and as my neighbors have been, with lead officer Adrian Acosta from the Pacific Division, and with Len Nguyen from Bonin's office from this individual. This individual was arrested on the 12th of December in Santa Monica for criminal threats. Spent 4 nights in Twin Towers, was released, was taken on a 5150 hold for 72 hours that resulted in 17 days, was released on the 8th. He proceeded to immediately cause havoc in our neighborhood. And on Sunday, he was arrested again in violation of the temporary restraining order that was then in effect for my neighbor. We have him, he's 4 houses away from the elementary school. I let the principal know. He has photographs of this individual, but we need more work done. He's going to be appearing in court this Friday. I've connected that detective and the city attorney from Santa Monica to Senior Lead Officer Acosta, and I've asked that Len be involved as well. We have a real and serious threat here. I don't want another Newtown. My nephew was a first responder at Newtown. It's vital that we get this guy under control.
Thank you. Kip Pardue.
Hello. Thank you very much again for your time. I'm here again from Venice to echo Councilman Bonin's words. I think, unfortunately, so many people in Venice are a little bit reluctant to come forward and speak about the change that's been happening over the last 15 years. The transient population in Venice has changed in a dramatic fashion, especially over the last several years, becoming much younger, much more aggressive. It's creating a different set of problems than the typical homeless population that Venice has been used to over the years. We've watched it change with our own eyes. I've been incredibly thankful and had wonderful relations with all of our SLOs, Officer Delatorre, Officer Thusing, Officer Skinner. They've been fantastic. Councilman Bonin has now taken up the slack for us. We are, again, reluctantly coming forward to have to say this to you, but it really is a population that's it's in flux right now, and we need your help. And we thank you very much for reaching out to us, and we know that you're up to the task. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Listen, although the city attorneys reminded me that as protocol, because this is a formal meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners for the City of Los Angeles, that we are not supposed to respond to any comments. We're not allowed to, so we won't. But that doesn't mean that we're not listening, and if you were to stand up here and watch the lead officers, everybody is taking notes on every single comment for follow-up. So I just want you to know you're just not speaking. We're not on automatic pilot. We have to follow the rules. Is that correct, sir?
Brown Act prohibits from responding. This meeting is run pursuant to the government code, which is referred to as the Brown Act. And so the commissioner is correct. Under the Brown Act, you're allowed to make comments, and they listen to them. They just can't respond because the subject matter of your comments is not on the agenda.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Allen Solomon. I'm a homeless person, downtown Los Angeles. When I was 19 years old, I was beaten every day of my life. The Midnight Mission saved my life. Let's just say that back then the police are not, or were not, the way they are now. I give the walking tours on Oceanfront Walk. My wife runs West Hollywood, and I am so grateful that we have the police we have today. I've been able to talk to them, they've been able to listen, and they do what their job is to do. I am so proud to be living, I call it Venus, where every beautiful creature in the universe seems to land. Mike Bonin, when he first started his first day at work, he didn't go to his office. He went to the neighborhoods like he promised he would. Over here, we have the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and her name is Catherine Chevalier. Her company's name is Not Maurice, and she is amazing. Everybody in here in Venice seems to be a creative artist of some kind, and I believe that we use our love to do things. We don't go and beat people. What we do, including the police officers, is we help others without looking for something in return. We pay it forward, not paying it back. I want to sweep the sidewalks, the Oceanfront Walk. I need push brooms, those big brooms, and we'll get lots of volunteers to do that. But the city is having difficulty just keeping the bikeway cleaned, and people are falling over. Now, I don't know that they're ready for lawsuits, but my brother, who's been practicing law for 50 years, wants to get on top of this. And I don't want him to do it. I want the city to say, let's do the broken windows theory. Let's keep cleaning it up and cleaning it up and cleaning it up, and it'll be like New York's Broadway. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 5 speakers, Stephen Bardak, Arlene Fink, Carol Kaloha, Vittorio Viotti, and Stuart Oscars.
Hi, good evening, distinguished panel. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. I'm the head of security for the Palisades Homeowners Association, and I would like to alert you all to a situation that we have in Rustic Canyon that's an attractive nuisance, and frankly, our neighborhood is losing this battle. There are some ruins up in the Rustic Canyon area that are allegedly have a Nazi past. They have been popularized by the internet, and in recent months we have had waves of taggers, vandals, and neo-Nazis. We are working with Councilman Bonin, and we are also seeking additional support from the police department to help as a temporary fix of suppressment until we have a permanent solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Arlene Fink.
Hello, my name is Arlene Fink, and I'd like to thank you very much for listening to us. I am a representative of the privileged few. I live on top of a marvelous hill in the Pacific Palisades, but I started out in the South Bronx. And so I've had a long journey, but the reason I'm here today is because, as Steve just described, our lovely palace on the top of the hill has taken on some of the aspects of the South Bronx. We have been the victims of vandalism. We have taggers. Our private property has been, people steal from us. We can leave nothing outside. My husband has been assaulted. There are people who come up wearing skinhead, it's hard for me to, because I can't even describe what they look like, skinhead uniforms. And it's not just a quality of life issue, because we have been assaulted, we have been vandalized, and it's become really quite a threatening atmosphere for us to live in. So the reason I'm here is just to alert you to this, because although, as Councilman Bonin pointed out, we are, his district does encompass a great deal of prosperity. There are areas in which we really do feel underserved. and we implore you to help us with that, even with our privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Kiloha.
Hi, my name is Carol K. Aloha, and I am the manager of the Mar Vista Library. And I didn't know we were, comrades here now, so I'm excited to hear that. I want to say two things. One, to the board and to the chief, the LAPD has been reaching out and interacting more with the Los Angeles Public Library, and we are so appreciative. You really don't know. As a manager and teaching my staff, it's so nice to be able to say that we can call LAPD security and someone will come. The discussions about Venice, Councilman Bonin, whenever the Venice Beach officers come, typically the people they're coming because we've called about are people they know. So it's one big community. So I wanted to first say thank you to all of you, and then I also want to say thank you to the Pacific Station, because specifically, and I don't know if Mar Vista Library would have been in your area, Chief Beck, but the senior leads have been amazing. My senior lead is Marcy, who just came back. We have had excellent service, and it means so much because we feel often very vulnerable. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 of us in a huge library with a lot of people, and libraries aren't like they used to be. I wish you could have come and visited us today. And also I look forward to Councilman Bonin coming to visit us. So once again, I just really want to say thank you for your support.
Vittorio Viotti.
Hi, thank you. Thank you everybody for listening to us. I come here from Venice Beach. I have a restaurant right near the boardwalk, 5 Dudley Avenue. I'm here to just make a point. I used to live in Venice. I came here 16 years ago from Italy. I used to live in San Juan in Venice, and then I moved to Santa Monica, and then I moved to the Palisades. My restaurant's been there for 10 years. Now I'm moving the restaurant to Santa Monica. So everybody asking why I'm here. I moved. But the reason why I'm here is because I've been there for 10 years. From the window of our restaurant, we saw many things. We saw stabbing, robbery, drug dealing. We saw parents selling, I don't know how to call it, stuff on the boardwalk, but then using the children to sell drugs on the street of Venice. We saw all of it, and it's still there. Like a gentleman said before, we have a new wave of younger, more aggressive people, homeless coming in Venice, and it's very hard for us to deal with them without the presence of the police. The only thing I never saw in my 10 years in Venice is the so-called police brutality. Never. I actually saw many other things, and I have the greater respect for the LAPD. What I'm asking is if you can take in consideration to bring more resorts to Venice Beach, for the only reason that even if you don't live there, and I don't want to disrespect any other neighbors in LA, I love LA, one of the greatest cities in the world, but everybody, me, you, your children, your nephew, your mother, your brother, your sister, your friends from Europe, all of us, at one moment of our life, we will walk on Venice Beach, and it can happen what happened again with the lady.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Stuart Oscars.
Good evening and thank you. I'm Stuart Oscars from Venice, and I have two things in my neighborhood are getting a little disturbing, and so I brought a little map so you could see what I'm talking about. So, if this is Lincoln Boulevard, this is Washington Boulevard, Venice Boulevard, and Abbott Kinney. Now, just inside that, you take Venice Boulevard, Lincoln, Coeur d'Alene, which has 2 elementary schools, and then Abbott Kinney. 2 things that are happening that are, the first thing is the number of permanent RVs has all of a sudden mushroomed, and I don't know what's going on here, but What's happening is the permanent RVs, big ones here and here, are now attracting vans and other RVs that are now in our little area here. So if we have 18 blocks here, I took a poll on Saturday morning, and there's 8 RVs and 8 vans, and these are like either stored or people living in them. And so I just would like that looked into. The second thing, and everybody knows about traffic, this is Abbott Kinney. What Abbott Kennedy has become, the cars in the morning and evening, they drop off of Lincoln Boulevard, shoot down Washington, and Abbott Kennedy is now a highway. The really amazing thing that's happening now, well, it's hard to get across, and thanks to Councilman Mike, we're getting a crosswalk over here to get us across. But what I noticed, a new trend is that it's a 2-lane, so it's 1 lane, and then there's a central lane that is used for just left turns. Now the center lane all of a sudden is becoming a speed lane for people who are impatient with traffic coming back at night or going in the morning. Now they're passing the regular traffic and going into the center lane. This is going to be a disaster one of these days. Please look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 5 speakers, Cindy Hench, Jason Teague, General Dogan, Jojo Smith, and Ariana Alcaraz.
Commissioners, thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is Cindy Hench, and I wear a few hats. I'm the president of the Neighborhood Council of Westchester Playa. I'm also a coordinator for CERT, Community Emergency Response Training in Westchester Playa area. And I'm also the Pacific Area Block Captain Coordinator, and I work a lot with Captain Johnson, as you heard earlier. So with all those hats, I bring this concern to you. I've heard that there's a change in for the senior lead officers, and that they will be teaching CERT in the future. I'm also a retired CFO and have spent a lot of time with businesses focusing on what their core purpose is. And CERT is certainly not the core purpose of the police department. I'm concerned that if we move our senior lead officers away from the community and neighborhood watch and focus on community emergency response training, that we're going to take our eye off of law enforcement, crime suppression, and the like. The CERT training is truly belongs in the fire department. That's the work of our firefighters and our paramedics, and they do a great job of it. And I would like to see if we have senior lead officers with spare time on their hands, which I personally haven't seen, but that they're teaching neighborhood watch, and that we spend time teaching neighborhood watch in the community, so that we have more eyes and ears on our streets for crime suppression. So I hope that the information I have about CERT is wrong, and if it's correct, I hope it goes away. Thank you.
Jason Teague.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jason Teague, Venice resident. I'm here tonight to talk specifically about the Jones settlement. I'm sure you all know what that is. It's a settlement that allows vagrants and homeless people to occupy public sidewalks for sleeping during the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. For some reason, that law was supposed to be in a small downtown area, but they put no geographic boundaries on it, and therefore it applies, in theory, to all of Los Angeles. However, it does not. Now, the police force has designated certain areas of Venice that it's okay to sleep and camp in. And what you've created are huge pockets of the third world. Now, I implore each and every one of you to drive down 3rd Avenue, just south of Rose Avenue, just 1 block. Just drive down there if you can get through in your cars, to do your ride along next time during the evening hours, and just see what's going on there. Now, these officers are doing a wonderful job, first off. Nothing against them. They have told me personally that these areas have been designated. And if they have, I would like to know who has designated them. I mean, it came from the top down. I want to know why these areas have been designated. And if they are designated by somebody, why is there not a 24-hour squad car there? I have suffered personally, my tenants and I, over $20,000 of losses because we live immediately adjacent to the 3rd and Rose encampment. I've had break-ins. People break in and steal toilet paper. These are not professional thieves. These are homeless people committing crimes. Bicycles gone all the time. So please please find out. I know you can't answer questions, but please find out who has designated these areas. Let my senior lead officers know so they can tell me, because I'll contact them tomorrow. And I'd like you guys to tell us who's designated these areas as the okay camping areas versus others. Because if I go camp on Abbott Kinney or Wilshire, I'll get kicked off instantly. But if I go sleep on 3rd, I can do it in the middle of the road. You can't take a wheelchair down the sidewalk. Good evening. Thank you.
General Dogan.
Good evening. My name is General Dogon, and I'm a Skid Row resident and civil rights organizer with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. So you say the purpose of these meetings is to listen to people and their issues and the problems that they have, concerned about public safeties in their communities. Well, I'm a Skid Row resident and very concerned about safety on Skid Row, where you have the largest concentration of officers in the world under the Safer Cities Initiative for the past 8 years. And we have come to you, commissioners, and the chief on several occasions and asking you to hold some of these community meetings on Skid Row. Skid Row is just 4 blocks away from your office. And Chief Beck, you do come to Skid Row because we caught you at the Nickel Diner eating, right next to our office. And at which time we hand delivered you a letter asking you to come to Skid Row and host a community meeting. And you have yet to respond to that. And then another thing I just wanted to say in closing, first I want you to come to Skid Row, and then second of all, this room right here sounds like it's a bunch of privilege that's going on up in here. And it sounds like a bunch of 3-year-olds jumping up and down, complaining, because you can't have everything your way. It ain't a perfect world, and so I would like to just say that, be glad for what you got, because there's a whole lot of people that's out there cold, that's sleeping out there on the streets right now that ain't got nothing. And I think y'all are very privileged, and you need to quit jumping up and down and crying like a 3-year-old. Have a Coke and a smile and stop the criminalization. Thank you.
Jojo Smith.
So like my colleague had said, we need to stop criminalizing the folks that don't have nothing. Stop taking taxpayer dollars and to criminalize homeless folks. Venice is a community and homeless is out here. So why don't stop criminalizing it and start helping the homeless community? Stop taking taxpayer dollars and then come to Skid Row and take some of these officers. If y'all have so many issues, take some of the officers that we got downtown. Because we got way too many downtown for a little small area to criminalize. Thank you.
Adriana Alcaraz.
Hello, Commission. Good Happy New Year. So a couple things I want to talk about: resources and community. Chief Beck and Mr. President, you were talking about community building and how together, you as a police department and us as a community, how we can work together to create, a safer city that we all can live in, and one that is, best for everyone. Instead of spending resources that you use to criminalize the homeless folks, what you, and especially you as a commission, should be doing is maybe trying to find out or, advocate for policies that create affordable housing and permanent supportive housing for people instead of criminalizing them, because they just go into the jail system and they come out and are in a worse situation than they were before they went in. So, there's not really it doesn't really help, right? What helps is housing people and getting them off the streets and providing services that do get people out of living in that situation. And you as a police department and as you as serving us in our community, those are the kinds of things that I think you should be on. So I hope that, and I'm going to try something new this year, because last year I spent, my time at your commissions trying to ask for you to come out to Skid Row and have one of these meetings. So I want you to know my name is Ariana, and I'm going to be here every Tuesday. I'll be in downtown. I'll be there at 9:30, every week, and I'll be asking you the same thing, hold these kind of meetings in a neighborhood that really could use, the help of, some coalition building and some community, and like you said, are you doing the best best that you can do. I am doing the best that I can do to make my city a better place to live in, and I do the best that I can do on a daily basis. And you know, it's really hard battle in the city of LA to get resources for people that need it the most.
Thank you. And the next 5 speakers, Becky Dennison, Hamid Khan, Lily Lambert, Carl Lambert, and Rachel Kesting.
Hello, my name is Becky Dennison, and I moved to Venice Beach in 1992. I lived there for more than 10 years, and I've continued to be a Venice Beach performer since that time until now. I spend a lot of time in Venice. I spend a lot of time on the Venice Boardwalk, and never once, day, night, or other time, have I been afraid of anything on the Venice Boardwalk. And I certainly have never been afraid of homeless people, young people, folks of color, and folks that people want to push out of Venice. And I just want to be clear that just because somebody says they're afraid doesn't make it a policing issue. It doesn't mean there's an issue of crime. There's an issue of fear. There's an issue of fear of the other, and there's an issue of not embracing the diversity of Venice that makes it the most beautiful place in Los Angeles, the only beach city that is accessible and open and home to a wide variety of people, a wide variety of income levels. It is simply not a crime to be homeless. It is not a crime to be young, and it is not a crime to be aggressive. The language is so interesting to me that somehow the police should respond to someone being aggressive. There's a lot of aggressive and rude people on the Venice Boardwalk. It doesn't make them criminals, and they certainly aren't all homeless. So I think that the police really need to think about their role in Venice and their role in homelessness overall, and start pushing back and directing the public to resources that can really address homelessness, and police focus on actual crime, stop criminalizing vendors, homeless folks, poor people who are only accessing the Venice Boardwalk as a place of community, as a place for commerce, and as a place of really building what Los Angeles is, which is a diverse city in income and race. And Martin Luther King weekend is coming up. We're going to be in Venice calling for the shared space and the ending of the police as a force of segregation, which is what you have become in Venice, in downtown, and in other gentrifying neighborhoods, and that needs to stop.
Hamid Khan.
Good evening. My name is Hamid Khan. I'm with the Stop LAPD Spine Coalition. John and Bonnie Rains and Keith Forsyth are going to be 3 names that will go in the history of this country who leave a legacy of conviction and a legacy of courage. These are the 3 individuals who exposed the FBI's COINTELPRO program in the early 70s, and they came out publicly last week talking about their conviction, how they put their lives at risk to expose this program. These are the people who we remember as honorable citizens. Well, in the same vein, and I just want to share something, that when Keith Forsyth said that when we talked to people about what the FBI was doing, nobody wanted to believe it. Well, the Stop LAPD Spine Coalition has been coming to this commission for over 2 years with documentation after documentation, with analysis from political think tanks, with analysis from your own Inspector General's audit, from a U.S. Senate report, from a People's audit, from analysis by the National Academy of Sciences, that how LAPD Suspicious Activity Reporting Program, Special Order 1, and the iWatch program criminalizes innocent behavior like taking photographs, behavior like using binoculars, or using video cameras. And we've been asking for this commission to hold public hearings or rescind these programs, because what we have right now in this community, and this is as per Alex Bustamante, the Inspector General's own audit that came out in March of last year, that in the West Bureau, out of the 78 SARs, there were 36 of those close to half of them were here. And out of those total, 82% of those SARs were listed on people who were designated as non-whites. And the largest number of SARs were identified as African Americans. So either this community is openly racist, or the police department has to admit that there is inherent racial profiling in these policies. And this is your Inspector General's audit. This is a report from the U.S. Senate as well. This is a report from the National Academy of Sciences and all these agencies. So we hope that you pay heed to this thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lily Lambert.
Good evening. My name is Lily Lambert, I live on Ocean Avenue between Pacific and Strand in Santa Monica. If I go out my door and if I go to my right, I'm a walker, so I like to walk a lot. And if I go to my right, it's a pleasant walk. However, when I go to my left and go into Venice to see my investment properties there, I'm constantly harassed, and you're embarrassed, and you sometimes, yes, you are afraid. But I think that you've done a tremendous amount to improve Venice Walk, but at the same time, a lot more needs to be done. And I do appreciate what you have done, and I'm looking forward to the continued and hope that it will be a lot better for us to be able to walk on the same street in either direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl Lambert.
Hi, Carl Lambert. President Soboroff, Commissioners. I first moved onto the Venice Boardwalk in 2001. I had a daughter who was about 10 years old. She used to go out in front, play on the swing step. I didn't worry. There was a homeless guy lived underneath my building until the building inspector said he can't live there anymore. And so he moved out and he lived in front of us. But Richard was a good guy. There was no big deal until the young guys came down there and harassed him off of the boardwalk. You know, it's a great thing to have compassion, but you also need to have a little bit more resources down there. The police force has done a remarkable job of kindly, compassionately, and intelligently policing the area. Venice Beach is the largest tourist spot in LA County and in the city. By comparison, it has about 10 million visitors a year. West Hollywood, about 1.6. West Hollywood brought $750 million to LA. By comparison, that means that Venice Boardwalk should bring about $4 billion of revenue to the city of Los Angeles. So it's important for all of LA to protect a natural resource along the beach and keep it safe, keep the tourists there, because as we all saw in Westwood in the 80s and in the 90s, when there was that 2 bullets within several months and everybody left Westwood and they all went to Santa Monica to the 3rd Street Promenade. We've had one incident that made international news. We need to protect Venice Boardwalk. We really would like to have you continue to allocate more resources. Councilman Bonin, I think, is on the mark. Thank you very much.
Rachel Kesting.
Hello, I'm Rachel Kesting. I'm a resident of Westchester, and I want to thank you for the opportunity. I have some very good things to say. One, the block captain system works incredibly well, I believe, in our neighborhood, and I thank Cindy Hench for spearheading that, shepherding that, and encouraging that. And I do believe that would help any other community. The second thing is I very often attend Disney Hall concerts and miss my entrance to the freeway, so I'm taking surface streets home, and I get lost. I've seen signs that say Pico Union and Ramparts, and I'm still here. I make it home. So I have to thank all of those departments, officers, for making that possible, because I'm coming surface from downtown LA, left on Fairfax through Culver City back to Westchester. So thank you. The other thing is I have taken the CERT training through the fire department, and I found it to be very insightful, helpful, and I would actually support what Cindy says about, and I didn't know she was going to speak about that, but I have taken that. That's a very good course and has been very helpful in understanding principles of triage and what the priorities are in a disaster. The only thing I might say is a bit of a red flag for me as a driver are bicyclists who may not understand the rules of the road. So I believe if there are any opportunities to educate bicyclists on how they can stop or use hand signals or signal would be very helpful for drivers. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 5 speakers, Judy Chandler, Ian Strano, Gary Harris, Monica Harmon, and Laura Lee.
Good evening, and thank you very much for allowing us to speak and to hear what your thoughts are. You just spoke. I am a member. I have been a member of CERT for several years. I have trained 3 times, and I'm in training again with my husband. I don't see the need for the police to do it. The fire department does a wonderful job of training us. And yes, we can lift small buildings and do all those wonderful things that they teach us to do. The other thing is the block captains. We have a wonderful system in Mar Vista. I've heard everything about Venice tonight. You're here for a lot of areas, and the Mar Vista area is a very diverse area. One of our problems that concerns me now is the Braddock area gangs, the Oakwood gangs. They don't stay in their territory. They go up Inglewood Boulevard. They speed up there. You chased, I think, a few of them down Washington or Venice the other night. I live in a very quiet, very not privileged, but I'm very lucky that it's a very quiet, nice little neighborhood. We don't have a lot of incidents, but in the middle of the night at 2 and 3 in the morning, I can hear the pop, pop, pop of the gunshots, and I can look up Twitter 311 and find out where they are. I don't know what's happening with the Braddock gangs. The Sotelos, I don't think are doing anything. I don't think the Stoner gang is doing anything. But what's happening? It's escalating, and I drive my grandchild. I don't want to suddenly be in an incident. Very quickly, and the lights in the squad cars. You have white lights now that flash up. My husband and I were coming in the other night, and I couldn't see because those white lights that you have so that you can take pictures, when you're driving towards them, you can't see. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. Anyway, thank you.
Ian.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. What I would like to talk about is the west side of Los Angeles, what it was in the past and what it is today. I'm a commercial real estate developer. I've developed over 1 million square feet of office space and over 4,000 apartment buildings. No one's fighting to leave the west side. It's an influx area. Everybody's fighting to get in here. Out of the 4,000 apartment buildings, I've never had one vacancy in 5 years. So it's really people I'm finding from all parts of the country are moving to the west side of Los Angeles. The problem that my community has is that we are covered by basic car A35. I've interacted with the police department, the men and women of the West Side. I think they are a bunch of fine professionals. I couldn't think of a better team of people that you have doing the job. However, 30% of the homes on my street have been burglarized over the past couple of years. My friends who live generally in the Cheviot Hills area have had break-ins. What made the newspaper, there were 12 of them in 1 week. The result of budget cuts are problems like burglary that impact people like me. And I would like to see more focus on the West Side, more police, and more presence, because if you're going to rob a house, the best place to go is where the police just don't have enough resources. And I think the West Side of Los Angeles is a target for burglaries, and I'm just bringing it to your attention that 30% of burglaries on the streets is a little excessive.
Thank you. Gary Harris.
Gary Harris,
I live on the boardwalk. I own a building on the boardwalk, 20-year Venice resident. Thank you for being here today. First, Jason Teague is right. Let's work on 3rd Avenue in Venice. I live on the boardwalk. I'm hanging out on the boardwalk all day. And like the Five Dudley restaurant guy said, I've never seen police aggressiveness or any problems with the way the police handle the problems in Venice. The problem is we like what you guys do, and like Mike Bonin said, we need more resources. We need you guys down there. What we need is you guys out of cars, walking, the same guys walking, knowing who the problem people are. If you get those guys on feet, talking, and the same group of folks, they're going to know who our problems are. I know who they are, and your people know who they are too. Especially right now during the winter shelter program, when the homeless is funneled to Venice to go to get to the Armory, which is the only homeless shelter in Venice. The only way, not in Venice, I'm sorry, on the west side of LA. The only way you can go to that west side of LA homeless shelter is if you go to Venice to get the bus. If a homeless guy goes to the West LA Armory, the Armory will tell them they have to go to Venice. So all the homeless right now, this time of year, is being funneled to Venice, and they are committing crimes of opportunity on my friends and my neighbors. We need more resources down there. Please give it to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica Harmon.
Good evening. Welcome to the West Side. I am a CPAB member, block captain member, and you all know, all over the city. We at Pacific Division appreciate, thank, and are grateful for the hard work of our officers. Just last week, 2 serious violent criminals were arrested by Pacific officers. The stabbing victim from the restaurant in Venice, Guillermo Perez, that suspect was arrested. Also the homeless beating victim, the suspect of that violence, was arrested. So our officers are kicking butt out there. They are making the effort. We're having all these prisoners being released from AB 109 that are coming to the West Side. We have Palms, Mar Vista, Westchester. Because the Westchester community have partnerships with LAPD, they know how to call in 911, and because of that, another suspect who was walking out of a home, who had just burglarized a house, was caught. So this is a proactiveness of our officers. Captain Johnson and Captain Davalos, I think, sleep at Pacific Division because they're always there 24/7. We as a community have to do our part, and I totally agree with you, Commissioner, because crime is a community problem. Our officers can't be there 24/7. We need to be the eyes and ears. And for all these people that think people here have been complaining about the homeless, you need to talk to Mayor Garcetti. He is getting millions of dollars from the federal government for these promise zones. Go talk to him and ask him if he can get some of those millions of dollars and do something about sheltering the homeless, especially when it gets cold. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Laura Lee.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. My husband and I have lived within a literal stone's throw from the Venice Boardwalk for 17 years, and we own and operate a little neighborhood sandwich shop which has been there for 15 years. Our shop, Zelda's Corner, is located at Speedway and Westminster, right at the heart of the Venice Boardwalk. On the surface, our business is to sell sandwiches, but the real reason we live in and have our shop is that we want and we really need to be an integral part of our community and help make our community a better place. I'm one of the people Council Member Bonin mentioned in his remarks. I'm one of those people who am at my wits' end regarding the situation at and near the Venice Boardwalk. In nearly 20 years that we've lived and worked at Venice Beach, the situation has never been worse than it is now. We have a great relationship with the members of our LAPD in our neighborhood and with the leadership, and thank you, Peggy Thusing. And we really consider ourselves in partnership with them. And I really have the utmost respect for the officers and leadership. I also have a ton of empathy for them because I know for a fact and from experience that there are absolutely not enough officers to do the work that needs to be done in Venice Beach in order to keep our neighborhood safe and vibrant. So please, please give LAPD in Venice Beach the resources it needs so that we can be true partners in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 5 speakers, Deborah Lashever, Gonzo Rock, Dr. Farouk Dovlashahi, Ann Garneau, and Helen Stadler.
Hello there, my name is Deborah Lashever. On and off, I've lived in Venice a total of 13 years. I had a shop on Abbot Kinney for 5 years. I have lived in Venice, I have had a business in Venice, and I am not afraid of Venice. I want to tell you, a lot of the concerns that people have had, I understand that they're very afraid and they don't like all the quality of life crimes that they see in Venice. Well, there's a solution to that, and we're trying to, a lot of people in the community of Venice are trying to provide those solutions, but every time we do so, we get, oh no, we can't provide any services in Venice because that will make Venice a mecca for the homeless. So the people that are telling us that they have all the problems in Venice need to decide whether they really are having the problems and they want to invest in solutions for the problems, or whether they really just want to get rid of the homeless people and criminalize them and put them in jail and get them out of our community. And I think that is really the case because we have suggested bathrooms, which have never been implemented in Venice. Now, people talk about all the urination and the feces everywhere. Oh my God. Well, there is a really easy solution for that, and that's not police. That seems very obvious. There can be services in Venice. We have the shelter program that we're providing that gives people an opportunity to take their stuff off the street if we're allowed to expand that. But Mike Bonin needs to give us permission to expand that. We need to expand it. All we need to do is give permission to do these good works, and you'll see the difference that it makes in Venice. If our hands are tied behind our backs and all we get are police, these are going to keep being problems. The poor are going to keep being criminalized, the violence is going to increase, and it's all going to get worse. Please help us, police. Please advocate for having the community solve these problems, and you concentrate on the violent criminals and the real crimes in Venice. Thank you so much.
Gonzo Rock, Dr. Farouk Dovlashahi. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, I can't pronounce it myself. It's very difficult to say what the problem is in this limited time, but I have been contacting the LAPD in Pacific, as has my wife, regarding a problem that is appropriately named Venice Gitmo, because of the enormous problems that we have faced by a group of informants, I have to say criminal informants, that is led by someone called Jeff Kettner, who was a former convict, a robber, who was leading them. Has very close relationship with this group, support from the police. I have written to Chief Beck, yourself, 15 times, and something of the order of 400 times we have made contacts of various sort with LAPD regarding this problem. And it escalated from harassment to torment and to torture. I don't know how they did it, but they got hold of a new breed of weapons that I found out LASD has, Sheriff Department has. These are energy weapons for control of inmates. I'm sure, Chief Beck, you may have heard of it. And this is what they've been using on us. And they started to use that when we complained to our congressman and to the governor as well as to the lieutenant governor, and when we complained to the wonderful Bill Rosenthal, he said, I don't know whether to believe what you tell me or what they tell me about you. This is a very serious problem.
Thank you, sir.
And please help us.
Ann Garnell.
Thank you for being here. It's obviously a very helpful opportunity for people to make comments and make observations on the excellent work that you do and the work that you might be doing. Just in anticipation of the completion of the Expo line, I wonder if our councilman and if all of you have anticipated the responsibilities that this will add to your burdens in terms of monitoring the neighborhoods that are affected by this extraordinary piece of construction. You will be coordinating presumably with the Santa Monica Police, and there must be transit police, but it, just from my observation, will be a particular challenge, and I'm sure one that you'll meet. We look forward to it being managed. Thank you.
Helen Statler.
Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm going to make this quick because I know it's late. I just wanted to back up what Mike Bonin said about the needs that we have on the boardwalk. I live a half a block from the boardwalk. I walk on it every day. I've seen it change a lot in the last 18 months, as have a lot of my neighbors. I think that one thing that is sometimes missing in these discussions is the distinction between our homeless neighbors, who I know by name and who I'm not concerned about, and the criminals and drug dealers, who I also see and don't know by name, fortunately. I really think, and I think that a lot of my neighbors have also expressed the idea that it would be very helpful if we had more foot patrols on the boardwalk, so the police would get to know what I know from walking the boardwalk every day. Thanks very much for your help.
Thank you. And our next 5 speakers are Anthony Folsom, Florence Chargier, Suzanne Thompson, Todd Person, and Steve Clare.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Anthony Folsom. I'm actually a Mar Vista resident, and I recently moved my business to Mar Vista. My wife grew up in Ladera Heights. We are longtime residents, and we care greatly about our community. I come to you, as with many Mar Vista residents, about a traffic problem that is going to be eventually far beyond what it already has. I would encourage the City Police Department to re-examine on Englewood Avenue, southbound, at the corner of Venice Boulevard, a left turn signal. It is in front of the library. It's in front of the fire department. We have had another wreck just last weekend. It's routine. People have been hit trying to just cross the street, and it's in front of a fire station. My business is on Sepulveda and Palms. Again, east-west traffic should have a left turn lane. It's routine accidents. On top of it, the 405 is contributing, of course, to that problem. We have complained about this for 20 years. I implore the city to re-examine both of those intersections. And, before I forget, Grand Avenue now has become the alternative to Englewood South during rush hour, because from Venice to National Boulevard, Englewood will be solid cars, parking lot. We have done everything we can with the community to try and stop it by imposing speed bumps, speed humps, traffic stop signs. It's not helping. We need more turn lanes more signals put into the turn lanes to expedite traffic. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you. Florence Chapter, Suzanne Thompson.
Good evening, Chief and Commissioners.
I'm a former neighborhood council president, Venice Neighborhood Council. I've lived in Venice for 30 years. I'm current chair of the Endangered Art Fund of the Venice Arts Council, which I'm a co-founder. And I also live off of Rose on Rennie Boulevard. So I'm here to talk about 3 different things. One are the public restrooms on Venice Beach. Our Endangered Art Fund is restoring the historic poetry walls, and it's hard for me to do this when the bathrooms are in such a horrible shape and they're not open because there's a curfew on the beach. I think this is illegal. I think if we had more policing, then this wouldn't be a problem as far as leaving the bathrooms open. So if people want safety, and I'm not afraid of Venice, I'm not afraid at all. In fact, I walked down the boardwalk at 11 o'clock the other night from Rose to Park, and I wasn't harassed. And I have seen more and more people coming to the beach, but the weather's been, cold in other parts of the country. The solution is to provide housing. People would not be homeless if they had a home, a place to live. And the reason people have been coming to Venice is because we have good weather, and we have had a very compassionate community, which I'm proud to be a part of. So that situation on Venice Beach is not as horrific as people say it is, and I encourage you to go down there. Check it out. People need to be housed. Take what the state of Utah is doing, put money into putting people into apartments, then spending money on criminalizing the homeless. And we need to end poverty in this state. Let's start in LA. Let's stop putting resources into criminalizing people and put it into resources. Put it into public art. Teach these kids something about art that they appreciate it, so they're not going to be doing as much graffiti on our public art. And then the other issue is 3rd Street. There was horrible presence by the LAPD, hundreds of them, and they do not communicate with the residents very well about what's going on. They tell you, get away, go away. That's scary. That is what's scary.
Todd Person.
Chief, Commissioners, thank you. Completely different than a smaller problem that was going on in the city. I've been a personal trainer for 33 years, born and raised in Los Angeles. Very fortunate to have moved my facility, which was on Westwood Boulevard, to right over here on Pontius, just north of Pico. I'm in a forgotten street. What I mean by that is it is kind of a industrial street. I have no signage at all. And because of that, I have encampments of probably 7 or 8 large RVs that can be there for weeks or months now. Just started going to the city council meeting, saw the flyer for here, thought I would try and get involved and at least find out how I could help or talk to whoever I need to talk to get my street to have some signage. Most of my clients are high school kids from the surrounding areas, and unfortunately I do find human waste and other stuff like that. So anyways, thank you. I'm very grateful and appreciative. Lived here my whole life. It's the best city. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Clare.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chief Beck, my name's Steve Clare. I've been a 40-year Venice resident. Thank you for coming here this evening and listening to what we have to say. Boy, the issues around homelessness obviously have a huge impact on people in our community. I want to underscore what some people have said tonight. Being without a home is not a crime. And sleeping on a street or a sidewalk, at least so long as the Jones settlement is in effect, is not a crime. I was very appreciative to hear Councilman Bonning making the distinction between being transient and being a criminal. There is crime on the Oceanfront Walk, and people who are committing those crimes, whether it's drug dealing, violent behavior, theft, the perpetrators of those crimes, some of them are housed, some of them are unhoused. The victims of those crimes, some of them are housed, and some are not housed. At a recent Venice Neighborhood Council meeting where safety on the Oceanfront Walk was discussed, the #1 request was that the police begin foot patrols on a 24/7 basis on the Oceanfront Walk. If we had confidence that people on the Oceanfront Walk would be safe. It would allow unhoused people to sleep better at night, and clearly it would allow people who are housed to feel safer in their homes at night. If we had such a patrol, maybe it would be possible to open up the toilet facilities on the Oceanfront Walk. There is no place for unhoused people to relieve themselves when the bathrooms are closed on the Oceanfront Walk at, I believe, 10:30 at night. So Oceanfront Walk patrols very important, and I would encourage you to do that. I know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final three cards are Rachel Kesting, Matthew Letty, and James Murias. Rachel Kesting.
Actually, I spoke already, so
okay. Thank you. Matthew Letty and James Murias. Okay, that concludes our public comment period. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for organizing tonight to hear the voices of the people. My name is Matthew Letty, and as a people myself, I'm here to voice my thanks and commendations to our police force for the bang-up job that they're doing. No pun intended. My sister's NYPD, so my proverbial hats go off to you. I recently went out to paint the town red with some friends of mine from work. Our 18-year-old Mexican-American colleague picked us up in Mar Vista in his beat-up old Chevy. Within 15 minutes, we had been pulled over twice, which is more than I've been pulled over within the last 2 years. He told us that this happens to him all the time. But as it turns out, our driver had inadvertently been guilty of several counts of DWL, or driving while Latino. As police forces proceeded to ask the standard questions such as, have you been arrested? Where are you going? Are you high? How much marijuana is in the car? Two thoughts crossed my mind. One, how did I miss the fact that this hardworking young man of the Latino persuasion was secretly a criminal mastermind, skillfully evading the law at every corner? And two, this is making me really anxious, and I wish I had some marijuana on me right now. Of course, this is merely an anecdote, but it made me realize something. It made me realize how grateful I am that because I was born white and own a black 2013 Honda Civic in mint condition, my odds of going to prison are significantly lessened. I can feel safe on the road because I know that our police force is out there keeping an eye on the real criminals, the presumably guilty, Caucasianly challenged Americans, not to mention the dangerous unarmed homeless population. I know in my heart that if we continue to fight crime in this way, we will win the race, provided that that race is white. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. We are now on item number 8, closing remarks. Mr. President? I believe we have one more speaker.
I was James Murias. I think I stepped up for a moment. So my name's James Murias. I'm a native of Los Angeles, born in Westwood or West LA, and lived here all my life. I actually started working on land use and planning issues in Venice when Ruth Galaner was first put into office, which I guess was before Mike started working in this field. I've been involved in land use issues ever since. And one thing that I hear resonating tonight, and I wasn't actually planning on speaking, was the disconnect and the feeling that I've gotten sitting there listening to what's going on. It brought to mind one of the disconnects that I witnessed just recently, yesterday actually, driving down Hampton between Rose and Sunset. Mysteriously, there's a new stop sign in the middle of a 1 block long street. On one side of the street's Gold Gym, and on the other side is Google. And I thought to myself, what the hell is the stop sign doing in the middle of this block? Well, the disconnect is that the city planning department and the zoning department and the police department and the DOT, they're not on the same page. And listening to what's being said here, it's like, well, you can't open the bathrooms up because you're a commission of policemen. And the bathrooms on the beach are a commission of Rec and Parks, and you know that, Steve. You've been around long enough. These are different departments, and we need to get some connection going. How is it possible that you can be putting 30 new police officers in Venice and DOT is stopping traffic in the middle of the block where there's never been a traffic? The only problem we have there is the Google employees can't get out of their driveway fast enough to go home and work at night. So everybody else in the community is going to suffer, so we have a new stop sign so Google can leave the office, where people are getting nearly hit on Pacific or on Rose, where we have real visitor-serving businesses, are getting, told, hey, we can't put in a stop sign there. We've been working on it for 6 months. There's a disconnect, and you guys have to figure out some way to connect to the other commissions and get them all on the same page with you. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now on item 8, closing remarks. Mr. President.
I'm going to pass my remarks over and let the chief do the closing. This is, like we said, this is the first of 15 meetings, one in each council district. We'll do one a quarter, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Second? All those in favor?
Hello. The video you're about to see is an overview of our recently created utility pre-craft training program.
As a steam plant assistant right now, I'm assigned to maintenance. In maintenance, we do overhaul repairs on any type of equipment that is attached to the unit, that supplies the unit, that helps power the unit. Any given day, you could be on maybe a valve repair. The next day, you could be on turbine repair. Anything from a simple water line repair all the way up to working on high-pressure steam valves, just depending on what's needed for that day. Once hired here with Water and Power, we go to a 9-day training class in which they give you the basic fundamentals of what your job entails, the equipment you're working on, the environment you'll be working around, different type of safety equipment that you'll be wearing, background of the plant, how old it is, your protective equipment that you'll need. After you finish the 9-day training class, you're assigned to a plant, which we have 4 in generation that you'll be working at. Once you get to the plant, you're then given a training course, depending on which discipline you go into, either operations, maintenance, or instrument shop. We are paid well here at Water and Power, but it's also because I do like the art of fixing things. I do like learning new things, and here at Generation, this is what supplies power to most of Los Angeles, and knowing that you're part of something that can make or break a city is a really, really enjoyable atmosphere. For me, once I got in the field, it was actually learning how electricity was generated, supplied, the demand for it. We've all turned on the light switch on and off for years, but you don't know how it's actually constructed. And once we got here and you get into the field and you see it all, and actually how steam generates into the turbine turns the generator, and power is supplied, it was a wow factor. So also with that, it's understanding how much harm electricity can cause, because you don't understand how powerful it is, and one mistake can ruin a lot. We have all different backgrounds here. We have men, women, different ethnicities. Everyone is just fascinated with how electricity is generated. And again, once you find your knack in the plant and what you like to do, I think everyone falls in right where they fit. I do feel coming to work is almost like a vacation, because if you work somewhere that you enjoy, each day is that much more rewarding. So here we do our job and we do it well.
If you're interested